So I've got this fabulous panel here, who I'm hoping are going to talk lots about translating commercial strategy into marketing delivery, if you like. I think what's been really interesting, and I'll let you introduce yourselves in a second, so everyone gets to know who these lovely people are. I think what's been really interesting listening to the other two panels is obviously this idea that we do need connected sales and marketing. And I know Roger said, well, why are we not just doing that? Surely it's straightforward. Well, it isn't always straightforward. And then hearing Derek speak and with Raman about reputation and how does marketing support reputation. And we forget sometimes, I think, that we think marketing is almost just completely tactical. And I think what I hope we get into now is very much about how you use marketing as a very strategic approach to deliver commercial value. You talked about valuation, you talked about brand position, and also not putting glitter on.
Threw them up.
And I think I'm looking forward, I think, to this discussion because actually we've heard all of this sort of, I'd say, important but high-level stuff. But how do we then activate that and actually deliver results? So thank you so much for being here with me. As I said, I'm the CEO. I don't need to introduce myself, but I'm going to go to Tom now and let you introduce yourself.
Well, thanks. Tom Wilson. I lead the commercial team for Pfizer CentreOne, so Pfizer's integrated CDMO. I think I'm kind of the outlier here. Most everybody has come up through the commercial channels. I am a godforsaken knuckle-dragging production guy. Right? I started on the shop floor as a frontline supervisor and worked my way up to running plants and then running networks and just making stuff. Thank you. But I came over into Light in 2018. And it's been an amazing ride here on this side. And I think the reason why is when we repositioned Pfizer CentreOne in 2018, a lot of us that were running the show at that point were actually on the buy side in Pfizer's external supplier, came from other companies' buy side. And we set out to build something that addressed everything that pissed us off. And it's really worked. So.
Well, how do you follow that? I definitely don't have a wonderful story like that. But I appreciate being on the panel with you. I'm Kimberly Burrell. I work for Abzena. We are a bioconjugate and complex biologics CDMO and CRO. I am currently the Senior Vice President of Global Marketing, overseeing all of marketing as well as inside sales. And I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary with the organization. So yay, that's exciting. However, prior to Abzena, I have held marketing leadership roles at large-scale CDMOs, mid-size and small, in both the small molecule as well as the clinical trial space. I have to say, I've enjoyed all facets of the business, and what I truly love about the marketing is it's all about relationships. It's connecting with customers. It's building trust. It's something so different than product marketing, because your product is your people at the end of the day, and it's exciting to be in this kind of industry because of that. So thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
You did just right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joanna Disley. I run my independent marketing consultancy. I've been in the CDMO space for about 25 years now. I've got the battle scars, the grey hairs and the wrinkles to prove it. But I was head of corporate communications and marketing for Actuate, which then became Catalent. And was there for many years, and then actually switched to agency side. So agencies dedicated to this space. So I've got a bit of a unique perspective in terms of being a buyer of services and a provider of the services in the space. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the discussion. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. See, this is a much better panel already, isn't it?
There's no round of applause for Mike.
We're going round.
Everyone's drunk now.
Perfect. You see, this one's going to drag on for 45 minutes. All right, I'm going to cut straight to the chase then, because we've obviously I've touched again on the sales and marketing and the value in terms of value creation. So I'll start with you, Tom.
Sure.
Okay, because you're right next to me. So my question is, how can marketing be integrated into a long-term commercial strategy? And let's think 2025 and beyond. So let's think positive future.
Yeah, no, it's actually an easy question to answer, and it comes from our relationship with remarketing when we brought remarketing on. And no, I'm not sucking up to you. But seriously, so just a bit of history, right? Pfizer CentreOne is an outgrowth of Pfizer CenterSource and Hospira 1-to-1. So both of them had their reputations, and those reputations were challenged, right? Especially the Pfizer name, right? So Pfizer, well known in the product space, very well known when it comes to our legal teams, but really we were in the service industry, right? So we had to really think about that. So when we sat down with Ramon and the team, it was a lot of, you know, how do we create a position for ourselves? And the team actually had to step back from that and say, what is it that you do? Who are you? Right? And I think that goes to authenticity, what we heard before. We had to figure out who we were and what was important to us. And it was really about bringing the capabilities of Pfizer to serve even more patients, right? And that really touched us. That worked for us. I say it all the time. There's so many easier ways to make money. You're not going to motivate people strictly on money. You're going to get them to do things, but you're not going to win their heart, right? So the patient was our baseline, right? And that's what we did. Working through marketing, we figured out how to connect with the patient. And to do that and to build that layer of trust and all that, then we had to say, how do we separate ourselves from big Pfizer, right? How do we step away from that reputation? You know, somebody mentioned a halo effect. I think there's a horn effect as well. But so that's what we did. So we had to be approachable. We had to be genuine. We had to be humble. Try and tell a Pfizer person they have to be humble. Good luck with that. But that's what we worked on, and that's what we really focused on creating, was understanding who we are and what value we bring, and then figuring out how to make ourselves approachable so that folks wouldn't be scared off the moment they saw our brand, but instead would be curious, right, and get to curiosity. And to me, that was what really drove it, and I don't see that changing. You know, what is it you bring to the table? Who are you for real? And then how can you unleash that for the client partner, right? And for us, it was, you know, I heard people talk about pitch, right? We threw that word out a couple of years ago, right? It's that first meeting now. We've moved away from talking about us to really trying to do a listening session and hear from the customer or the client partner, whatever you want to call them. But, you know, who are your patients? What's your patient's journey like? Where do you intersect your patient's journey? How do you make a difference? One of the things I've always believed, and again, I was on the buy side, is that the client partner wants you to love them. They don't want to love you, right? They're hiring you. You're an extra set of hands. You're going to be like their sibling, right? But you know, it's you really have to love them, and that's what we thought was really important. And that's what Ramon and your entire team and the hours I spent with Natasha, my goodness, but really trying to get to that.
I'm so sorry about
that.
I'm so sorry I had to spend that much time with Natasha.
Well, the alternative was you, so I think
We'll try into that one.
but that's how we look at the future, right? I think it's still the same thing. Who really are you? What are you bringing to them? What's in it for them? And are they important to you?
Anything to add? Any of you, really? Either of you?
I think what we're all talking about is customer centricity, isn't it, and personalisation, and talked about relationships and, you know, understanding really what our buyers want and how they want to digest information, you know, at what cadence, in what medium, in, you know, at what relevance, just to keep it relevant, because there is a choice, and we've got discerning buyer community, and we have to differentiate ourselves strategically, otherwise, you know, we just become noise to everybody. Mm-hmm. So I think that personalisation piece is absolutely key, and really understanding how they need information from us. And so aligning with the commercial objectives, aligning with the corporate objectives is like, you know, the sales and marketing working so seamlessly together, and to make sure that it's just, you know, integrated so holistically at every level, so it's no matter who you're talking to, that we truly understand, whether it's through CRM data or through AI, that, you know, what our buyers want from us, how they want it, when they want it, in what medium they want it, and what do they want to do with it. And I think if you get that right, that customer centricity, we talk patient centricity, but our customers, I think, you know, you can really position yourself more effectively. So.
And I think, you know, to add to that, the missing piece is the internal customer that the previous panel brought up, and just making sure you are aligned with them and you are sharing the message of your brand cohesively, not only just externally, but why is it important what we do, how we're marketing, making sure that it is aligned to support those business objectives critically. So you're not just out there, marketing is selling something and sales is selling something, but the sites are like, wait, I have gaps here and here. So instead of being reactive, you've had a proactive approach from the get-go because you've aligned with your stakeholders. You understand throughout the business internally what's needed from your team as well. So it's not just thinking about that external customer, but also that internal. Because I think a lot of times marketing departments can become very siloed. They can, and even commercial departments can become very siloed from the organization. They're not necessarily understanding what needs to be done that next year to really support the business throughout that entirety of the year, as well as just communicating back the results of what has transpired from it as well. So I think there's that also, that consistency, not just from the brand, but also from a marketing standpoint with your campaigns and your strategy to have alignment across so many different, both internal and external customers as well.
Just piggyback on a bit of that, and I think that, you know, using our customers' successes as a measure of value as well. How have we contributed to our customers' successes? How is that long-term partnership driving loyalty, brand loyalty to us? But how have we able to instrumentally be that difference to move the needle on their part and with them as a partner? And I think using that as a measure of value is really important in communicating, you know, what difference you can make to the, you know, to the greater good and the large mission at large, you know, which is, you know, creating healthier lives for people, you know. So.
It's okay. So I'm just going to come back to you, Kimberly, if that's okay, for this next one, because you mentioned the strategy, the marketing strategy. So how can marketers set strategic foundations to support that long-term success? And we're not just talking about marketing success, actually we're talking about commercial success and then latterly business success.
Hefty question.
There's an extra one as well.
Oh my goodness. Well, like I said, it's really about alignment, to be fair. You know, at the end of the day, when you're coming to the table with your strategy, you can have all these ideas in the world, but if it's not necessarily aligned with the business objectives, I think that's where it's going to fall flat. So understanding, is lead generation number one priority? Is brand awareness number one priority? Is market share another priority? Maybe they all are. Then they should be prioritized and put into a plan where you can then align your campaigns to also match that. I think that's really critical to be able to do that from a foundational standpoint, and then also get the buy-in from all the folks from the commercial side as well as your SMEs. So they're all united around this as well. Then connectivity. That would be my point of view on that.
I'd add just one other thing, right? So doing all of that, but doing it based on your customer segmentation, right? Figuring out how do you speak to a virtual versus how do you speak to a regional versus how do you get yelled at by an MNC, right? I mean, that's really how it works. But, you know, really making sure that you can connect, that you've got that customer, going back customer centricity, right? Understanding what's important to the customers and how do we connect that dot? How do we add value for that? How do we take problems off of their table?
Yeah. How do you keep it all on track? Like
A team.
Yeah.
Phenomenal people, some phenomenal agency support. At the end of the day, we all play a role. Like I said, it takes a village. It really does.
So one of the things that I inherited was gross segmentation. So segmentation, everybody had their silo, nobody was talking to each other, nothing, right? So what we had to do was blow all that up and move to integrated team planning, right? So when we do we do a regular business run review every other week, and we bring together all the salespeople, BDs, inside sales, account management, project management. We bring together the marketing team and we lay it all out. And everybody knows what their role is, and then we run it all through the CRM, right? So we know exactly where we're at in different segments. We know, where our opportunity sets are, where our conversions are, and then how lead generation is going, right? And then a question came up earlier was, where does lead generation sit? Well, lead generation sits everywhere. We're a sales organization, right? So my expectation very strongly is, yes, marketing is responsible to generate X number of leads through certain channels, but my inside sales team should be generating other leads through their channels. And then the reminder that I have to give my hunters and my herders is that they have a responsibility to prospect, right? And they need to bring stuff to the table too. It takes all of us.
I just piggyback onto keeping it on track. So data, we're in a world of data, keeping open-minded to how valuable data can be, but how distracting it can also be sometimes for the marketing team. But having strong data to back your decisions and course correct when you think things are going wrong, I think is really important. Keeping it on track, but being agile and flexible. We live in a world where change is daily, and having customizable messaging and adaptable messaging depending on macro environmental events, regulatory changes, anything that's going to happen. I think we need to be very mindful that we just need to be nimble on that type of marketing, depending on what changes. And stakeholder engagement, keeping very closely aligned with all the departments we talked about. Regular open communication is just going to keep the marketing mission where it needs to be and keep the marketing agenda top of mind, really. So.
Great. So I'm going to go back to you as well, because you keep saying things, and I'm like, this is great, my next question. So you mentioned the team. You talk about the team, and I think clearly if you're a people business, we're all people businesses, but the team is absolutely crucial to our success. So how do you build and nurture a high-performing marketing team? We could be here a while.
This is a whole section. To be honest with you, I think there's kind of three facets to it. One is the one-to-one interaction you have on an individual level with your colleague or your direct report. There's the team environment that you foster, and then there's also the behavior that you do as a leader when you're not with your team and you're speaking to people outside of your department about your team. And I think on a one-to-one basis, it's critical to have consistent connectivity individually to really understand that person that you have on their team. What motivates them? What are their priorities? Where do they want to take their career? Building a plan for them to see that there is a path for success, just not with their day-to-day, but there is something that you're helping them grow to and establish, because that will then give them the understanding that you believe in them and you're here as their counterpart to help build them up. But at the same time, it's another avenue where you're being able to provide really critical feedback to them on a regular basis. Celebrate the wins, but also provide constructive feedback so they understand where those opportunities are. You should not wait until an annual review time. You should be able to have tough discussions on a regular basis. And that really garners respect at the end of the day, because it allows them to understand what they're doing well and where they can grow and how you're helping them basically improve in that area. On a team basis, I work remotely, all my team does, and we've done so for quite some time. And where we find success is that we come together on a weekly basis to really just chat at one time and see what's going on in your neck of the woods. Share what's going on your plate. How can we work together? Let's brainstorm. Let's collaborate on a regular basis. It's not always about the data. It's not always about the KPIs. Here they are. This is great. But let's connect, because I think connectivity fosters creativity, it fosters growth, it fosters improvement, and it just makes people want to excel more. And then lastly, when you leave the room, you're not taking credit for your team's work. You're saying, so-and-so did X, this person did that, this person did this, and you're championing these amazing people that might not be sitting at that table, because it's really important to bring a face to each and every one of those folks, because they are what makes your department successful and the organization from a marketing standpoint.
And I think it's safe to say, piggybacking on that, a team can look like so many different facets to a team: part-time, full-time, internal, external, consultants, temporary, permanent. So I think the makeup of a team nowadays is so diverse, isn't it? And I think your question originally was about, hiring and maintaining, a high-performing team. And, you hire for a diverse skill set, but you also hire for a diverse mindset. Because that's reflective of our buyer community, right? We have such a diverse perspective on buyers we're trying to influence. So your internal teams need to reflect that and bounce and understand those perspectives and those cultures and those mindsets. So I think it's not just about hiring for skills, but it's hiring for culture and hiring for cultural fit and your values fit in an organisation, and how that translates through your marketing activities. you know, your learning and development, your strong comms, your teams, all of those tools that we've proven can work through COVID and beyond, they're all just, you know, tickets to ride. But what we really need to do is make sure that you embed and integrate those cultural and value and the diverse mindset for their organisation. I think that's really important.
And everybody contributes.
Yeah.
Right? It's making sure that everybody's in the boat together and that, you know, they're all pulling their oar, right? But I think even more, I want to build on what you said. It's everything you said, but the other thing that we like to do is push people out of their comfort zone, get them to experiment, get them to take a risk, and they have to trust that we're not going to kill them if something goes wrong, right? And that can be hard, again, but we're little Pfizer, right? We're an adjacency. Big Pfizer doesn't even get involved in our business. As long as we're giving them $1 billion a year, they don't care. Right? So we have a lot of latitude to do things, so we get to play with that, right? And we get to play with our own culture.
We work in drug development, we're experiment, things go wrong, that's the culture, that's the norm, we should be encouraging that, right?
And that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
And I also liked your matrix, right? So what we do is we obviously start with technical capability.
Yeah.
Right? But then you get into, okay, cultural assessments, and we have some pretty good cultural assessment tools. But then we take it into two other dynamics. We'll use both insights and then Herman Brain. And what we're trying to do is build a rounded team so that people backstop each other, right? And you know, they cover each other's blind spots. And once they realize that they can do that, that somebody's, it's the virtual trust fall, right? That somebody's going to be there to catch them if they missed something. That is just really powerful.
Amazing. I could just leave you guys here today, having a drink, just sit back and listen. Before I carry on, because I've probably got one more question for these guys. Are there any questions from you? Oh, yes. Come on.
Firstly, thank you, because we haven't had a voice of marketing at any CPHI I've been to, so it's exciting that you guys are here. But I had a question around, we've heard a lot the past 18 months, almost 2 years, that the sector has experienced troubles and it's been tough for a lot of people. And I just wondered if, in hindsight, you had any advice, if we were going to go into this slump again, which hopefully we won't, what advice would you give to commercial and marketing professionals to ride the storm? What kinds of things would you tell them to implement to just manage it?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I think that's really good, but I think we need to encourage people to see change as an opportunity. So we've proven that we can weather the storm and come through it, you know, and flourish through the side for the most part, and hopefully there are green shoots of recovery, and certainly in the sector. But I feel like you have an opportunity to reframe the marketing narrative, or to address some unmet needs in the market, or you just need to look at it through a positive lens, I think. And celebrate those quick wins and successes, because we're not very good at doing that as a marketing function. I don't think necessarily, but I think you need to see it as an opportunity and to course correct and pivot phrase that we all love, and be able to be nimble enough to and optimistic and brave enough to give it a go. So that would be my reflection.
I'd also say absorb and add tools to your toolkit. This is the time to explore at the end of the day. And there's a lot, there's so many free tools out there where you can learn. If you had an interest in graphic design, add it. The more you have under your belt, the more arsenal you have, the more valuable you are, to be honest with you. And I always feel that in tumultuous times, it allows us to really stretch our creative muscles as marketers, because maybe we don't have the huge budgets that we did. And so these are opportunities, is how can I get in front of my customer, my buyer, in a creative way at this moment to convert a sale that I might not have had an opportunity before to do so. So just think outside the box at the end of the day. And don't be afraid, like you said, don't be afraid of the change, to be honest with you, because I think it gives you an opportunity to explore new and exciting things.
So as the partner organization, I would say just that. We're partners, right? So how do we align? How do we connect? That's really important. And that means that we've got to be able to not just pull in the same direction, but we've got to be able to have constructive disagreement, right? And that's really critical, because the next great idea might come from the BD that's sitting in China, that is seeing something that all the rest of us have missed, right? So how do we recognize that opportunity? How do we recognize that crack in the usual way of doing things and then leverage it, right? And the same thing for us, right? It's if you come up with a new way for us to talk about something, for us to share something with a potential client partner, it's not enough to just give us the detail material. Help us understand how to frame it, how to really make it meaningful, how to make it about the client, how to make it about their patients.
Brilliant. Anyone else? Before I ask my final question? Come on, Liv.
Just because this kind of panel is all around like the forward thinking for market strategy and commercial success, I don't think it'd be right to kind of end without speaking about AI and like where you see AI sitting within marketing strategy for the future, and if that's something that your sales team are bringing up as well. Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what your perspective is on that.
Sure.
I have an opinion.
So we're taking it slowly, but the one thing that we are playing with right now is building out the models for AI to do some of our preliminary prospecting, and really not just the who, but what's behind the who, right? And then can we leverage that into our data packs? Can we then leverage the data pack into an even more successful first contact, right? And get to the second call, right? We've had some success so far, but what I'm finding is I've got to find the people that just naturally intuit how to frame the questions for AI to do the right work. And it's not me. but I'm blessed with some great people that just love this stuff and love playing with it, tackling it. So again, it's pushing them into their new areas.
I think, yeah, to echo that, I hear a lot of people talking about how it's helping the sales process and the research and due diligence and things, but also from a marketing perspective, content generation, you hear a lot, don't you, about that, ChatGPT and helping, but the personalization piece is going to go a long way before you're going to be able to eliminate the human experience, I think, for me. But like any system, rubbish in, rubbish out, if you don't get those prompts right and you don't have that proper context, then it's not going to produce a quality output, I think. So I think taking it slowly is probably a fair approach.
And I think we do have a fairly conservative industry. I mean, we have an SOP around we have SOPs around ChatGPT and so on and so forth, just to make sure at the end of the day what you're sharing out there is going out in the public. So you have to be very careful in that. But there are other opportunities that can simplify and sometimes help, especially if you have a small marketing team, like taking a webinar, it's in the public domain, run it through the transcript, it can pop it out for you. You immediately have a written transcript of all your webinar. You can take sections of that, read through it, and you have immediate content that you can use right off the bat, section off and repurpose. So there are ways that you can utilize these tools that can help you, especially if you're a small team, also social media posts as well. I think those are safe areas, but it's never going to be perfect. We have very complex services, and so it's impressive sometimes what it says, and other times you're like, no. But at the end of the day, it can help, and it's something to look forward to, not be scared of.
Especially your company, you guys are working with some really difficult technology.
Yeah, exactly.
So great question. So I'm going to do one more. Hopefully I've got time. So in a kind of short format, just giving you that prompt, short format.
I understand I'm talking too much.
No. That's okay. I think you guys want to get to the drinks. So just some quick wins, actionable quick wins that you would recommend marketers can implement in quarter 4 of this year to set themselves up for success in 2025. Where do you want to start?
Asking the question, why are we here? Why do we get out of bed in the morning? What are we bringing to people? And what's the value that we bring to the planet every day? Start there, and everything else will fall in place.
Definitely. From my perspective, we just recently went through a brand refresh, and you guys have helped significantly with that across the board, and it's been one of those learning experiences. But I think from a quick win standpoint, is being able to promote that brand message even more consistently, to have an understanding to our customer base, really who we are, why we did what we did, and how that does impact you guys as well as our customers, and how we're also trying to reach that patient at the end as well. That's the reason why our tag is moving medicine forward, is because we're an organization that's constantly here to help drive your programs forward. It's demonstrated in design, it's demonstrated in content, it's demonstrated in the messages that we do. So being able to leverage this new look and feel that we have and really magnify that across all of the different platforms that we have, it's really going to be a quick win for us, because I feel like it shows that we've elevated ourselves, because we know that our customers expect an elevated service level as well. So I think that's there. And also just all the PR support that the RAW team has. You're phenomenal.
Marketing familiar.
Yeah. So it's from marketing. Quick win. So there you go.
I'm hoping that 2025 plans are already established at this point, and this is kind of fine-tuning and optimising any kind of current campaigns that are underway. But I think I like to take kind of moments of reflection towards the end of the calendar year to really evaluate, how your any ROI, how your campaigns have been successful, what you do differently if you repeat that activity next year, and how you've moved the needle on your corporate objectives. I think that moment of real kind of evaluation and impact and measuring those outcomes, how you've addressed the objectives, I think that's what I like to do towards the end of the calendar year, to just really sort of have a good look in the rearview mirror and kind of congratulate yourself on what's gone well and how you did the job. So that would be my tip.
All right. Well, thank you. You've been amazing. Really, really appreciate you giving up your time to come and share your wisdom. So massive round of applause for this.